Today we're talking about our top five book recommendations for writers, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie authors on their journey to publication. I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Christina Catane, and I write Christian fantasy and mystery.
All right. We thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very active chat, a great place to find community and answers to your questions that we don't necessarily get to during our live broadcast. So if you want to join us live on Fridays at 10 a.m., you can interact with these amazing chatters. I see Jason and Purpose Behind the Pen, Piper, Meg McDonald, SL Perrin, and I hope Piper, did I say you? I hope I didn't miss anybody, because we sure do appreciate you're all engaging with us. If you do like what we do, please like and subscribe, push all of the buttons, let everybody know that we're here to support writers on their journey to publication. So we also have a Facebook group that you can join to maybe cultivate a little writing community of your own from like-minded independent authors. We start every episode with a segment called What's Up, where we go around the table, the virtual table, and ask our host, what's up? Jen, what's up with you today?
I am not feeling well.
Oh, I wondered if you were going to have your what's up be that. You poor thing.
I went to, after dinner last night, I just started not feeling really well. So I went and laid down, and I have all night long, I just didn't feel good. So like nothing has like surfaced, if that makes sense, but I'm very nauseous. I don't know if I ate something or if I'm getting the flu of some sort. I don't know, but I'm here, and I'm gonna hopefully it won't cause any problems for the podcast, but that's my what's up. I don't feel good.
Well, thanks for toughing it out. I'm sure all of our listeners will pray for your speedy recovery and that you're feeling right as rain super soon.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I will go next. I just want everybody to know that I did not experience any really ill effects from Helene, the hurricane.
Good.
I did lose power for a day, but fortunately, I was able to commute to my office where they had air conditioning and a coffee machine. So I fared very well during my power outage. Of course, prayers and support to all of the people who did not fare as well. And so bizarre that a hurricane could affect areas such as Appalachia. Like, who would have thought that it could be so devastating so far inland? So I really just want to draw everybody's attention. I'm sure everybody knows, has a connection to somebody who is connected to people who are supporting. So please send minimally your prayers and anything that you can do to help the devastated regions. What's up with you, Tina?
Well, my manuscript for my book 3 of my Angelica series is away at the book coach. She's checked in with me, asked me how I'm doing. In the meantime, I'm taking a mystery writing class.
Like about mysteries, or you don't know what you get till you show up for class?
No, it's about writing mystery.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And it's one of those things that I read a lot of mystery. Like, I consume so much of it, and yet there were things about mysteries that I didn't know. And but it was like there's 4 core characters in a mystery, and I didn't know that there was like a list of 4 core characters in a mystery that you need to make sure you have in your book. But once the guy said them and explained what they were, I'm like, aha, yep, that's in all of them. Like, yep. So it was kind of a lot of, oh yeah. But then what it does for me is it gives me this framework, because I have 14 different scenes that I've just played with for 14 different
Mhm.
characters. And it just then you end up lost in the weeds. Like, how do I fit all these characters into the story? Like, what
Mm.
is their role? Well, now I know. There's 4 core characters and there's 4 categories of extraneous characters, and so that's 8 right there. I need at least 8. And some of them there can be more than one that fit into each category. Well, not the protagonist and antagonist, obviously, but the 4 extraneous character types. Like, you could have more than one of those. So I'm like, okay, this really helps me to think about, like, what role are if I'm going to take these characters that I've just played with and wrote scenes about and actually put them in the book, what is their role going to be? And it really helps make it less foggy. It's like the sun coming out and the fog starting to clear.
Well,
It's
that's
really awesome.
amazing, and I think that shows how far, we've come as an industry and independent writing. It's so funny how we're all unified by certain things, because I feel like this is information that might once upon a time have been gate kept. Only publishing editors, at the big houses would understand, the bones of putting together a selling mystery, and now you have access to it thanks to other industrious types who've taken the time to figure this stuff out. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
We have
We
some
got
WhatsApps in the, yep.
Catherine Carroll says she's celebrating tomorrow's release of book number 12. Yay, especially since it's coming out tomorrow instead of next week. That's so
Yay.
great. Oh, that means you met so many goals and deadlines. That's got to feel super awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
She's
congratulations.
she
also,
was worried about her cover art getting there in time, so her cover
oh,
so and I've been seeing your little post on Facebook, and it looks really interesting.
Also, Purpose Behind the Pen says she's chosen to dedicate the last 3 months to free writing. I'm so glad. I remember your status update that you were feeling kind of down the last time I was able to join the podcast. Books 18 to 20 are in countdown mode, 10 or less chapters left, but I'm in no rush to publication. Good for you for knowing what you need and acting accordingly. Good for you. Also, we've got Piper Dow. She has been able to get to the virtual writing room a few days a week this week, and she's really enjoying her story. Hooray! I'm glad retirement is looking good on you. That's great. Also, SL Perrin. Her what's up is she's decluttering today and getting some cleaning done, thinking about Preptober. Oh, yes, fall is in the air, and with it, the sound of crunching pages as you crumple them and send them to the garbage can. Just kidding. Jason Marsh, what's up? I wrote one of the most emotional scenes ever to where I was actually in tears as I wrote. That was the first time I have ever done that. Wow. That's so awesome that your hallucinations can be so real that they make you cry. It's an
Yeah.
amazing power that we writers have, right?
Welcome, Jason, to the world of writers who need Kleenex on their desk at all times.
Yep.
It's a good excuse to buy a pretty Kleenex cover holder.
True.
All right. And then we did have some prayers, Jen, well wishes. Catherine says she's praying that you heal up quick. I'm sure everybody feels the same.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Yeah. So we got a what's up from all of our pals. Now we're going to talk about the topic du jour, which is 5 book recommendations for writers. Ladies, I really appreciate all of the heavy lifting you did putting this episode together. I think that our reader or listeners are going to be as excited as I am to dive into some of these books. We are going to be talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think we even have a bonus book here. And first, I guess we're going to talk about who wants to announce the first one.
I can do that.
All right.
Because I have it right here. And
Ooh, it's
I'll
pretty.
try to put my hand or something so that my phone will.
Yeah, it's trying to make it look
There we
beautiful
go.
against makeup on.
There we
There we
go.
go. Yeah.
It's a creative writer's notebook. And it's 20 great authors and 70 writing exercises. So they have authors such as Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, William Faulkner. There's 20 of them, and they have given exercises that this
Ooh.
author put in this book. Now, I don't know that they gave these exercises directly to this author because like Virginia Woolf died in 1941. So I'm not sure,
Mm.
like she probably just like gave it out to the world. But I've been doing this since I can't write in my manuscript. I've been using this for writing exercises and it's really cool. Like the one I'm working on is there's a man sitting at a table in a crowded Italian restaurant by himself. And a woman gets up and comes over and sits down across from him. Now you have to write that scene from 3 different perspectives: first person, third person, and the conversation between them.
That's
Ooh.
cool.
Yeah, so like that's the one I've been doing, and I really just didn't make myself. I didn't limit myself to like this is only has this how long I'm going to write or this is how many words I'm going to write. It took me like 5 or 6 sprints to finish the first person from the guy's point of view. So to even get to the like a stranger across the room watching.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's been really fun. I
So
really
tell me, how is this book organized? Is it organized by like writing skill or just by
by
purpose,
author.
by author? Okay.
So
And
when
have you
you
noticed? Yeah.
so when you go to the table of contents, it has the author's name, and then underneath them it has the exercises that came from them. So you could like if there you have Margaret Atwood, for instance, if you really like her, you could just go straight to Margaret Atwood. So
And
Flannery
then,
O'Connor, Kurt
oh, I like
Vonnegut,
Flannery
there's like
O'Connor.
Stephen King.
Mhm.
There's a lot of really great authors in here that have given writing exercises that you can play with.
Now, what would you say, Tina, is the difference between an exercise and a prompt?
Well, to me, this feels like a more homeworky.
Okay.
And as a
Mm-hmm.
number one learner, I love homework.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want me to do if you don't want me to do something, just get like demand that I do it or tell me to do it. But if you want me to really do something well, tell me it's homework. And I will strive for the A on my homework. So this
Great.
feels very homeworky to me. Like you have these writers and they're like, this is going to help you become a better writer. Do this exercise, do this homework. And
Yeah.
that's how it feels to me when I'm doing it. So
I appreciate that because it's like you're building your writing muscle. Did you find any particular, like, did you find what was the thing that Barb said? This is passive voice. Did you find any passive voice exercises as you were
no,
going
I
through there?
haven't. Actually, I'm still stuck on this Virginia Woolf one.
Oh,
So haven't I haven't really gotten to the so that kind of thing. But I
all
think
right.
it's more like writing exercises like here's the scene set up, now write the scene kind of thing. That's what I've seen so far.
Perfect. And does the author provide any sort of an intro or like
Well, there's the blurb on the back, but it's kind of long and it's very wordy. So
all right.
I was gonna read it and then I was like, no, that's really wordy. Let's just have a like a natural discussion.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I think that that book is great for if you feel like you just want your writing to become better. Wouldn't you say that's who you would recommend this book to?
Yeah, yeah. Any writer that wants to practice, and these are like really great writers, so they have a lot to offer.
That's awesome. Okay. And that I have you think you've introduced that book to your satisfaction. We can move on to book number 2.
Yep.
All righty. Book number 2 is
All right, so my book is also about making your writing better, and it is a book that's called After the End: Teaching and Learning Creative Revision by Barry Lane. Here's the thing. This is an educational book. This is not a book that writers usually would go out and get. When I was
Mm.
still a teacher, when I taught middle school, I used this book to teach writing to middle schoolers. And it wasn't until Tina came up with this idea, and I'm like, I don't know if I have enough books. And I look up, and this book is on my shelf, and I'm like, I haven't kept any of my teaching books except a couple, and this is one of them. Because
Mm.
even though I don't sit down and go through this all the time, learning this book and what like the exercises in this, I think is what got me back into writing. I think that teaching
Mm.
this and going through and teaching other people, teaching kids how to write, and then how to like revise revise their writing, made me want to write again. It made me look at writing from a whole new perspective. So if you are struggling with revision, it is made for middle schoolers.
Can I borrow it?
So you can borrow it. It's made for middle schoolers. It's a bunch of like activities. It's basically like each chapter is like something like you would do with your students. But you could do it as if it's your own homework, Tina. So it's
Yeah,
called
I love
After the
that.
End by Barry Lane. I highly recommend it. It's from 1992. It's not like a brand new book or anything, but good stuff there.
It's probably not on Kindle.
Probably not, but it might be. I mean, everybody I know that graduated when I did and was teaching, everyone who taught middle school was using this book. So
That's awesome.
Well, I think it says something that you haven't kept many of your books, but this is one that you did keep. Meg McDonald said revision is her favorite part of writing.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder if she is alone on that island.
I think she probably is.
I don't know.
I
I
keep
feel like
quoting the guy from 20 Books who said, revision is like making your way through the jungle with a spoon instead of a machete. It's like, oh,
yes.
that describes how I feel. Exactly.
Mhm.
And it's not fun, but like if it becomes it's like part of your DNA, like it's what I feel like this book has done for me, is that it just becomes like part of like how you approach writing in general, then I think it makes it a little bit easier. But
That's awesome.
yeah.
All right. So that also seems like a book that could apply to any writer. This next book on the list, I wonder if it's for every writer or just some writers. What do you think, Tina? Tell us about the third book
I
on the
think
list.
every writer could benefit from this book.
All right.
It's not about writing per se, it's about mindset around your writing. And this is the Becca Syme her first book. It's called Dear Writer, You Need to Quit. And
Mm.
it's not about quitting writing. It's about quitting taking advice that is not right for you personally. Like there's a lot of people out there giving writing advice. But if you know yourself and you know your personality and how you are, then you can know what is her thing that she keeps saying, know what to keep, know what to quit, and know what to question. So you'll know what to keep, what advice to say, oh yeah, that resonates with me, what to quit, and what to question. So it's question the premise is like all through this book. If somebody says you need to sit in front of the computer every day and write, then you can question that premise and say, but do I need to do that? Or am I a phoenix, which is the archetype of a writer who writes a whole bunch until they flame out and then takes a break and then comes back and writes a whole bunch? So it's all, and the Clifton strengths are talked about in here. And so, yeah.
And we're
Well,
all
I
fans
think
of Clifton Strengths for sure.
yes, this book is getting praise in the chat. Piper says she is a Becca Syme groupie, but this is definitely a great book. Purpose Behind the Pen says, I think I have read Dear Writer once before, and truth be told, it is good. Yes, I think that we all are fans of Becca and what she's doing for the writing community, and it's a lot well on its way to becoming a writer classic, wouldn't you
Yeah.
say?
And
Yeah.
learning how to write with my personality, because I don't have focus, I don't have responsibility, I don't have consistency. Those are all very low on my strengths. So learning how to come at my author career using my strengths has been absolutely life changing for me.
That's wonderful. That's really great because I mean, we are not cookie cutter humans, and we all are going to need to approach things differently. Prescriptions are not one size fits all
Right.
for writerly success. Okay, and now what if you have a writer who just kind of is making everybody sad, or everybody is glum, or everybody is swooning in love? what book would help them maybe branch out and expand their horizons so that their characters can be a little more deep? Anybody got a recommendation?
Well, I would recommend The Emotion Thesaurus by Angela Ackerman and Becca Puglish. I'm not sure. Yeah, Puglisi, sorry. So this is one of the first writing books that when I first came back to writing that I bought. And it's better than just a thesaurus. And here is, and they have a whole like library of different thesauruses that they do. But it's just not like you don't look up the word nervousness or nervous and it just gives you different words. They'll give you the definition, they give you the physical signs, then internal sensations, mental responses, cues of acute or long-term nervousness. Like this, like it splits it up in different ways depending on how you want to put it in your story.
So you can
So
show and not tell.
yes. So if you're getting told that you're showing or that you're telling and you just show more, buying one of these thesauruses, this was my favorite one, was the emotion one. Because I like Jamie kind of alluded to, everyone's like, oh, what was something? Oh, Tina, when I was supposed to give you positive feedback, I gave you some meat. Was it a couple weeks ago?
Which I really appreciate because I rewrote that scene and it's really good now.
See, good. And it was a sprint, so I know that like you weren't like stopping and like editing, but like you'd be surprised how many published books have romance, like let's say little segments that are just so like cliche or doesn't really feel like it's actually happening to the person. Like if you have someone who is nervous, I must have used this because it opens right up to this page every time. Every time. And like you can't, instead of saying they were nervous, you let the reader know they're nervous by showing them like them pacing back and forth while rubbing the back of their neck. And then, you know, being nauseous, like say all that kind of stuff, and let the reader infer that they're nervous. So
I know you're a big fan of that.
Really interesting what Catherine Carroll is saying. She says the emotion thesaurus is so good. A lot of therapists, including me, have used parts of it with clients.
To be able to tell like what they're that's
yeah,
exciting.
feeling
really
your feelings. Sometimes you can think about your feelings and not feel them. So it's good to have help.
And it's not just for romance either. Like I showed you the nervousness, right? That's not just a romance book thing. So if you have like, you know, Tina's character is interviewing somebody and they're showing signs of nervousness, then that's going to be a clue to her character, you know,
or guilt
or guilt. I mean, it's not just nervousness. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So, or anger.
Gosh,
Piper says she has a few of those thesaurus as ebooks and often leave them open right near her manuscript while she's writing.
Thesauruses. Okay. So that was book number 4 on our list. And then this next book, I think we talked about in the past, but this book is, I would say, pretty much a classic, wouldn't you? And it looks like Tina's going to introduce it for us.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a classic, but it is for me because of the way that my brain, like we just talked about, questioning the premise of the common advice on how to write out there did not work for me. But the way that this, it's Lisa Crone in The Story Genius, has you write these scene cards where you talk about what's actually happening physically, and then you go internal in the character. Why is it happening? What are they feeling? And why, and how does that drive them to the next scene? So at the beginning of every scene, you ask, how did what happened in the last scene and how the character feels about it cause them to now act this way in the next scene and cause the action of the next scene? And so it, without having to have a big outline, which tends to freeze me up, I have a guide to what to write next. So I really love The Story Genius by Lisa Crone.
And I would be curious.
I'm sorry. It says how to use brain science and go beyond outlining to write a riveting novel. That's her tagline. So.
Well, what I feel like is, Tina, you're kind of saying that this book is special to you because it speaks to the way that you write. And I would encourage anybody in the chat to go over to our Facebook group and possibly drop the name of a book that helps you come up with a way to write, especially if you are a planner and you plan differently than Jen does, or if you are a pantser and you have a book that's different than Tina's that you think really helps you get there without having to do the big outline. I'd really like to see other recommendations for speaking specifically to the way that you write, right?
And the questions that she asks in the Story Genius can totally be used to make an outline, if that's how you do it.
That's interesting. Okay, all right. And then we've got a bonus book. And the reason I say this is a bonus book is because when I saw it on the list, I was like, one of these things is not like the other.
Right.
And yeah, so tell us about it, Jen.
So I chose The Birth Order book by Kevin Leman because as Tina and I were talking about it, and I've mentioned this before, but I think that this book influences my writing more than most writing books that I've read, because this book, I read the whole cover to cover, and this book has helped me to figure out not only like my personal relationships and my family relationships, but when I craft characters, I craft characters based on what I learned from this book. And so the premise of this book, and Dr. Kevin Leman is obviously, he's a doctor, a psychologist, is that the order in which you were born will affect your personality. Firstborns tend to be a certain way, middle children tend to be a certain way, and babies tend to be a certain way. And it holds true, except for he does have that there's a few outliers, but a majority of people in the world will fall into this. So when crafting characters, I want my characters to make sense. I don't want a firstborn child that is going to not have leadership skills. I don't want a baby that is independent of everybody else. That's usually not how they are, So I use that to craft my characters and make them feel real. And so, plus, if you're a parent, of more than one child especially, this is the book to read. It's definitely a great parenting book. So,
I have to wonder, do you know who Nate Bargatze is?
I do.
I bet you he's read that, because he has this whole stand-up routine where he talks about his mom and dad, talks about himself, he talks about his sister at length. And then at the very end, he goes, oh yeah, I have a brother. He's the middle child. What's his name?
It's so good the way he says it.
The way he does it. Oh my gosh.
And everyone who's a middle child just like loves that, because they're like, yes, we're the forgotten ones. And yeah. So my husband is the middle child, and he and my middle child are always cracking middle child jokes. So yeah. It's good stuff.
I have 4 children. So does that mean I have 2 middle children?
Yes. In essence, yes. Except that how many years in age is there between your third and your last?
James was the baby for 10 years, and then Chris was
James
born.
is a baby, and Chris is an only. You have to read the book. It's really good. It really it helps you to understand your children, and it helps me to try to also break through some of those things that I feel like we do as parents that maybe impact our kids in a negative way based on on birth order. And so it's been really good for me.
Piper, Gen X middle children. Yes, that is me. Yeah. And I distinctly remember thinking as a, 5-year-old child, the baby. Why does everybody love the baby? All she does is roll around on the ground. I can tie my shoes. I can say my ABCs, but everybody only cares about the baby. Isn't that funny? Like, I distinctly remember this is my character persona for however long. Yeah. Yep.
So Catherine says, in my family, the traits of the firstborn and middle child are flipped, and the baby, me, had always been advised of being too independent. Accused. She meant accused. So I am the baby, but I'm the firstborn female. So I have both baby traits and firstborn traits. And because of that, I think that affected my brother's firstbornness. Like, so he might have been an outlier. I'm not really sure, but I fit it to a T. When I read this book, I'm like, I am a firstborn female. I am a baby, and I have all those things switched up together, and it's just good stuff.
I
Piper
was
says
adopted. I wonder how that affects it.
it's in there.
Mm,
It's in the book.
Because
mm.
I always felt like the forgotten one, personally.
Mhm. Piper says, Marcia, Marcia, Marcia.
Jamie, Jamie, Jamie.
Super fun. All right. Well, anything more to say about our list of 5 plus 1 bonus books that we recommend to writers? Any last words?
Well, I would just say that this list is not exhaustive. These are just books that we happen to have on our shelves that we think are valuable to us. So share your books because, like, for me, for one, I would like to read them all. So share, share, share.
Great. And if you're looking for a book about how to do writing sprint prompts, I know a group of 4 women who run a podcast who wrote one called 30 Days of Writing Sprint Prompts. So make sure you look that up. It's by the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, and we would appreciate your support.
Great marketing, Jamie.
Thanks. Okay. And so are we ready now to transition to my favorite time of the podcast, which is the feeding of the backs? Are we ready?
We're ready.
We will provide positive only feedbacks for stories that we're going to read aloud to you. And guess what? They were just written, freshly minted before the podcast went live. And so there hasn't been any time for editing or change making. And so that's why we only give positive feedback during this part of the show. Jen, I always like to choose you to go first. What was the prompt and what did you write?
Also, before I go, I went ahead and started a thread in our Facebook group for people to put their book recs into.
Ooh, okay, great. Good job. Thank you.
Okay, so today's prompt was 5 words, and it was exile, advisor, joy, trace, and keep. And I only used 2 of the words. I'm continuing on from the past 2 sprints that I've had in the scene that I've been doing in book 2 of my next series. An escort home? How gentlemanly of you. It seems your mama raised you right. The corner of Shane's lip twitched. Yes, ma'am, it seems as if she has. The two stared at one another for a moment, silently communicating something that seemed amusing to them, but only confused Loretta. Escort home? Why, she only lives up on the hill yonder. Shane's gaze slowly found Loretta, but gone was the charm he bestowed upon Miss Mabel. She received a look that held no trace of joy. No lady should walk unaccompanied at this time of evening. This is when the coyotes start prowling, among other things. Loretta suppressed a scoff at the word lady being used for a slave, but the pure venom that shot out of Shane's what's-his-face's eyes, I remember his last name, kept her in her place. Wild coyotes weren't the only thing to fear lurking this evening. Well, dearie, I suppose Shane is right. I should be getting home. Loretta wasn't certain what was more unsettling, the comfort at which Miss Mabel felt in using the term dearie with her, or the fact that she had just called a man by his Christian name. As she watched, 3, 2, 1.
Did you use all of the words?
No, 2 of them.
I saw joy, and I was like, I bet you she got them all.
No. Trace of joy was in 1 sentence. I only got those 2 words. And I wrote to get to that point, and then I didn't even look at the words again.
Now you read that and then you flung your hand up as if there was some sort of dissatisfaction. What
I just don't feel good. And so it's just like, I know what I'm trying to get out of this scene, but I didn't get there. And yeah, anyway, it's fine.
I think it was good work because you get the internal and you also get the difference in the way that she is treated compared to Mabel. And she is like, without a trace of the joy that he was just bestowing over there, but you almost kind of feel like she still doesn't get the hint. I think that says something about her, her character or her, like, she's just not really introspective in any way, it seems. Maybe she grows into it as the story goes on. So I enjoyed that.
Right. So there has to be a character arc there. So we got to start her out like kind of shallow and she's like entrenched in this mindset from slavery times, and she needs to grow out of that. But when you said what's his name, I thought that the character actually was thinking that.
Oh.
Like she was
Oh.
like so disgusted with him that she was like, Shane, what's his name? And then I was like, oh, she put that in there because she couldn't remember his name.
Oh, that's great.
That would be fun.
That was my favorite part.
That would be fun in a contemporary book. I don't know if it'll fit with historical, but maybe I could make it work. But no, that was just me not remembering.
I like snarky, so I was like, yay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really enjoying seeing you developing this character.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really impressed that you muscled through, even though you weren't feeling well, to honor your commitment. That is to be praised. I really appreciate that. Thank you for that, Jen.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. What about you, Jamie? What'd you write?
It's weird, but I did get all the words. So
oh, good.
Your normal thing.
Yes. All right, here we go. People often ask me, how in the years of your exile did you manage to preserve your joy? I smile when they ask and shake my head and then change the subject. Not because I don't have an answer, but because I know quite well the answer is not what they are looking for. What these searchers are looking for is the key to unlocking joy within their own lives amidst their own misfortunes. My journey to joy will not heal their wounds and may, I fear, cover them like a salve for a time and prevent them from doing the real work that would eventually lead them to the peace they are seeking. I keep to myself the years of tears, the hours of rage against God and the world and the evil in it. But I probe my inquisitor to see if I can bring up the anger I sense is also lying dormant somewhere underneath the mantras and affirmations and other coping mechanisms picked up from well-meaning advisors along the way. I often send them away without a trace of new understanding about themselves, but that is fine. I have plowed furrows in their understanding and made the ground ready for seed. Often for this purpose, I send the women among them to speak to Veronica. I never send the men to her, though, as her unintentional seductiveness is likely to act as a hearty storm upon the fertile soil, washing it away and leaving the poor soul more bereft than ever, but so distracted by romance that he will not notice until he has frittered away several more years to a decade before he returns to his own search for joy. This is how I was mentored along on my journey into joy, but not by any mere mortal. It was fate, cold and cruel, that fashioned me into the man people today seek out and revere. The suffering I endured and the fist I shook at God were the hammer and chisel that worked away at my soul, and my tears served to cleanse away the resulting grit until nothing was left of me but a shell of a man my admirers today would not recognize. And joy was the crutch that I first awkwardly clung to as it helped me once again gain my footing, and which fused itself into my character long before the days of my exile had come to an end.
Wow.
I told you it was weird.
It's not weird. I don't think it's weird. It's deep. It's really, really deep. And I feel like that I need to hear it 3 more times before I can absorb it.
I know. It's like you got to read it kind of slow, man. I think the Dostoevsky is rubbing off on me.
But I just couldn't stop thinking about the scripture that says joy cometh in the morning. Like he had all this, the exile and the pain and the anger and all the things to get to the joy.
I don't know. I really just wanted to use all the words.
Did you use
Jen,
all
you're
the
muted.
words?
Or I don't know. I can't hear Jen. Can you hear Jen?
Yeah, now I was muted.
Oh,
so
right.
I said lots of great, insightful things. No. Purpose behind the pen says, wow. Meg says that presents so many questions. I'm with Meg. Like, that was where I was at too. It's like, and I know I'm not feeling well, so it's hard for me to track everything. But like you said, like read it again. I wish I had opened it up in my computer and read along with you. I think that would have helped me too. But I am curious about Veronica. I'm very curious about Veronica, and like, and this feels to me almost like a Percy Jackson kind of a situation where, and it's probably just maybe me reading into like you saying things like unearthly, I think you used the word. I don't remember. But if like why is he in captivity? Like why yeah, I have lots of questions. Sorry. Like it's
That's
good
all right.
writing. Very, very, very fluently written and beautifully written, but I have lots of questions.
Hmm. I
I
love
know.
writing that almost comes out as poetry on the page, like that. Like a lot of like words that I love,
Mhm.
and a lot, so many of them that I can't point to one. It's like that, just like as a whole, I really love that, and I'm glad I have it. We have it in the folder, so I can go back and look at it again.
Right.
I appreciate that. It felt to me like I was setting up some very big long novel with like an introduction, and I'm glad that it was like interesting
Right.
enough that people wouldn't just throw it down and be like, I'm not going to bother. Hopefully you have enough questions where you would keep going even if you felt like it was a bit of a slog.
Right.
I would
Meg,
definitely keep going.
let's start with Piper. She says it's very deep. I'm wondering what his exile was for or from and what his backstory is. Meg says, I was going to ask what in the world you've been reading to inspire that. LOL.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
And Piper says, yeah, difficult to track without having it to read and go slower with. So, yeah. But beautiful language.
Awesome.
Very beautiful language.
Hmm.
Thanks. All right. And Tina, you also had the same 5 words. What did your brain do with them?
Okay, here we go. Let me get it so I can read it. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
To be in exile was better than the alternative. That's what Jonathan kept telling himself as he made his way through the field of boulders before him. He missed his mom the most. She was kind and snuck him treats when his father wasn't looking. Jonathan didn't think his father was an evil man. He was just stern and believed all things were black and white. If you were bad, you deserved to be cast out. If you were good, you were accepted. Jonathan had never quite felt accepted. He could put on the mask for a while, but his curiosity and drive to learn new things and experience new places always drove him over the line of what his father and the leaders considered good. This last time had been the final straw. He'd wandered out past the boundary line and found the most exquisite creature he'd ever seen. It had a long body and a tail like a lizard, its head like a snake, and wings like a bat. It was just big enough to fit in his hand, and when he gazed into the creature's green eyes, such joy filled him. Determined to keep the little guy, whom he named Cerulean after the color of his scales, he built him a nest in an old box he'd found in the attic. He dumped the junk out, put some sticks and leaves and a shell with water in it. Cerulean seemed content with his little home, and Jonathan was diligent about making sure no trace of the creature was left around his room for his mom to discover. His father never entered his room, so there was no worry there. His father, when he came home from work as advisor to the Supreme Commander, would hastily eat his dinner without speaking, then go into his office and sit at his desk going over the endless piles of paper he had in there. What those papers were, Jonathan had no clue. He wasn't allowed in his father's office, even under the most dire of circumstances. Father stayed with his papers late into the nights, long after Jonathan had gone to sleep, cerulean tucked under his arm, filling him with the most blissful feelings of warmth and incredible love for the little guy. Everything was idyllic until cerulean began to grow. Soon he didn't fit in the little box Jonathan had made for him. He
Uh-oh.
began to need more than the little insects he could find in Jonathan's room, and then he began to wander. And then the timer went off.
Oh, golly.
Oh no. Who or what is he gonna eat?
Well, in my mind, I was going to get him to the point where the cerulean got into his dad's office and accidentally caught all his papers on fire.
Because
But
he's a
Oh
dragon.
the
Right.
man.
timer went off before I could get to there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love everything about it. I loved this boy that that we are following in his mindset. I love that he found this little creature and didn't realize it was a dragon. And yeah, I love it so much.
Thank you.
And with Jason too. Jason says that he loves the name Cerulean. Yeah, so that's my favorite part too, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciated that you didn't exactly say that it was a dragon, which made me wonder, does the kid know? Or is it it leaves a little bit of ambiguity there. And I really appreciate that component, the showing, not telling, sort of to the extreme. And using the point of view of the character to reveal only so much, which helps you to understand the mental acuity or age of this Jonathan. So
Yep.
I do appreciate that.
Piper says,
Okay.
"Oh, this gives me feels. Identify with curiosity causing a person to be too much for the other people. Cerulean sounds like such a fantastic buddy." Agreed. And Meg thinks it's fun. I agree with that too.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're supposed to move on then after the feeding of the backs. We encourage you to take a stab at this writing prompt, 15 minutes to write whatever your brain confabulates with those 5 words. And next, we're going to talk about what's next. What's next for you, Jen?
Well, hopefully I'm going to be able to go lay down when we're done with this. That's really all I'm thinking of right now is hopefully getting over whatever this is. So that's what's next. What
about for you, Tina?
Well, since I can't work on book 3, I'm going to continue doing this mystery course. And as I'm doing it, ideas are coming to me. So I've got like my auto crit writer's desk, and there's room in there for all your story elements. So as I'm getting ideas for like, this could be this character and this could be this type of character, I'm like putting little notes in there. Anytime an idea pops into my head, and my brain is just like, I'll be doing something else and then I'll go, oh, and then I'll go run and write it down. So
that's great.
I'm having a lot of fun with it, and just going to keep doing that till I get my manuscript back.
All right. Well, what's next for me? I have to say that I so appreciate this podcast being here, and that you allow me to still participate when I am able, because I do really appreciate the writer side of my life, even though it feels like it's been backburnered interminably. So as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about ways that I could package some of my current finished works and maybe try to do a little bit of advertising to sell them in a passive income way. And anyway, y'all have been inspiring to hang out with, and I really hope that I can do it more often. I really appreciate all of the support in the chat and the people in our Facebook group. It's a great community. Oh, Piper says she loves me and is happy when I'm here. Me too. The feeling is mutual. So I really appreciate you all. And Jen, gosh, thank you for coming today. Even when you're feeling so miserable, I'll toughen it out. And so I think that's it. Any final words on this episode, ladies?
Well, we have a few what's next in the chat.
Oh, good.
So Jason Marsh says, set the goal of finishing a chapter a week this month. Piper says, hubby is on vacay, so I don't know how much writing I'll get done, but I'm going to try. Meg, revision, and mowing the lawn.
Oh, so she's a happy camper. She loves that revision. All right.
And behind the pen, prepping for the move to North Carolina.
Oh, wow. And Meg says that Jen needs soup, Tina. Take her Panera soup. Aww. That's so sweet.
If I'm going to bring her soup, I'll just make it myself.
Oh, might be better.
Well, okay. On that note, this concludes this episode of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. So until next time, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye now.
Bye.